Okay, so let's talk about taking the product to the market. I mean, that is a very challenging process. So, why don't you walk us through that process, how it looked like? How did you take your product to market if you went to Amazon or got your product on any shelves in the local markets? So, what did that process look like?
There's so many different channels, right? And that's the first thing you have to think through is the type of channel, right? There's e-commerce channels, there's retail channels, there's, farmers markets and in-person channels, right? And we experimented with all of them, right? So in the beginning, we started just in person, farmers markets, a couple of events here and there. Those were pretty, successful and interesting for us because as an early stage brand, you get the most direct conversation going with your customers. It's the best type of feedback you can get, right? As opposed to putting it on a shelf and wondering, did they like it? Did they not like it? Did they read or did they not read? Or you don't get a chance to kind of get that feedback. So I'm a strong proponent, especially for CPG brands, seeing is believing and talking is learning, right? So as in those markets, you're speaking with your customers and you're getting an opportunity to really get the reaction in real time, right? Because in many cases, it's hard to fake a sour, a bad reaction. And we had a couple of those, right? People who weren't used to black seeds, people who weren't used to za'atar, trying it, especially Westerners, going like, what is this? It's useful for us to understand maybe it has too much za'atar, maybe it needs a little bit less, or maybe the black seed ratio is off and it, be a bit difficult. That's kind of our early stage that helped us validate. And then from there, we experimented kind of in this tool approach. We did have a couple and still do have a couple of retail partners that we're working with. We will soon be in Halal Basket in Houston. So for all of the Houston-based folks, they're going to have the best deal on the market. All right. So definitely that's an early plug to go check it out over there. But at the same time, like you mentioned, we did have an e-commerce platform as well. And e-commerce is an interesting beast, right? Because retail, you put it on the shelf, you try and drive some folks to buy it, through all sorts of advertisements and marketing efforts and strategies and things like that. But e-commerce really is a special beast of its own because you're trying to convince people not just to buy your product, you're trying to convince them to click on your website in the first place. You're trying to convince them to click on your ad. And that's a tough uphill battle, right? And most of the time, or a lot of the time, you're not going to win that battle, especially as an early brand, right? You need to have some specific momentum. You need to have some specific buzz, right? And that's why a lot of folks lean in on influencers, and influencers can help, but ROI is always questionable. But influencers can help drive that early recognition, right? And so we tested and experimented with all of those angles. Amazon was perhaps one of the most interesting ones for us, and we are still working on a TikTok strategy as well, only because it has the highest intent to buy. So for those early CPG founders that are trying to understand, should I or should I not make the leap to Amazon? Amazon is a great platform to drive volume. But also, you don't really capture the customer as your own customer. They're Amazon's customer, not your customer. So you need a full funnel.
Yeah.
You need your own website. You need, potentially could use an Amazon front, right? You need to have some level of retail and some level of in-person as well. I think it all complements each other. And, there is definitely something to be said of specializing depending on the brand you are. But when all of them are working together in harmony, that's when you get what's called that halo effect, where one sales on Amazon drives sales on your website. Those sales on your website drive recognition when they're walking on the shelf in Walmart or something and see it, right? All of them need to be kind of happening in parallel, right? And then through that, that's when you really begin to see your returns on all that early investments that you're making.